We are love. We are love. We are love.
Koya Webb, welcome to Drops of Gold.
Hey.
Hey. I'm Jeff Scults. I have been on a healing and revealing journey, following my thread to my inner gold. My great honor in life is to sit with the golden ones and discover what they've released in terms of their past stuck stories, what they've revealed in terms of who they are anew, and within that, how we can each celebrate the art of living life golden. Welcome to Drops of Gold. Hey there, golden ones. This episode of Drops of Gold is powered by One Golden Thread, the regenerative nature fashion brand that I created from my mind's eye that we can all live in regenerosity. Enjoy the program, and we've got a special code for you later on to share. You are golden. We are all connected, better together as one golden thread. So you have amassed a massive following around love. Tell us about your journey that led you there, because I love that your rawness, your authenticity, of the expressiveness of the fact that we've all gone through our trials and tribulations and our twists and turns, and we can use it all. So tell us about, as I like to say, not where were you born, but where were you formed?
Where was I formed? Thank you for seeing me, and thank you for seeing my expression and seeing it as full, because I see it as a fourth of my full expression in the moment. I feel like there's so many versions of myself that want to express in this lifetime, and I plan on expressing a couple more, and it just feels good to lean into my truth. I think growing up I was very suppressed versus fully expressed, and I think growing up in the South, you try to be perfect, you try to be a people pleaser, you try to do everything right, and when I realized I could just be and be loved, that was my breakthrough to really starting to become more expressed. And I say more expressed because when I say a fourth, like there's just so many things that flow through my mind in a day and flow through my consciousness to create that I want to play with. But when I started to realize my own personal power outside of a book, outside of rules, outside of religion, that's when I really started to come home to myself and come home to how I express love each day, how I receive love each day. And it's been a beautiful journey.
The fact that you came from the South, which is so juicy in so many different ways, and there's
juicy and rotten sometimes.
Juicy and
no one wants rotten juice, but sometimes a little rotten.
Oh goodness! So, what were some of the fulcrum points that allowed you to that gave yourself permission to pivot? That allowed yourself that I'm going to have that breakthrough. I'm going to give myself permission to chart another course. I'm going to give myself permission to break some ancestral cords. Talk a little bit about
full
that.
on breakdown.
Yeah.
Full on feeling that I am not going to live. Like literally being an intuitive, I would feel like things would happen to me and people say things to me, and I would just feel in my body like, that could give me cancer. Like, that is really hurtful. And people be like, that's normal. And I'm like, no, that's hurtful. And so being a deep feeler and being an empath at a young age, I could feel when things that people say or do that would seem to be normal, even part of the culture, right? Of like talking about other people or name call, oh, you think you're this or you think you're that, like all of that. That's how I grew up. And I remember going, and I think this is a really pivotal point in my youth. I think I was probably around 17, going on a trip with a family outside of my own. And I was like, you can go on a trip without arguments? No. Y'all are weird. Like, so this is not real. Like, I never experienced going on a road trip or somewhere where you weren't trying to kill the other people in your presence or argue or, like, talk them under the table. And so I went on this trip with friends, and we were making food together and doing each other's hair, and everything was peaceful. And I'm like, this can be a reality? And I'm like, I like this. I want this. Is this possible for me? And that was a very pivotal point in my life, because I was like, you can create a different reality. And I went home and tried to do that, and it wasn't really well received. But seeing things are possible is, to me, the pivoting point. And that's what I try to do with my community, is show them what's possible. Because if you don't see it, you don't know it's possible. Maybe in your mind, but when you see people actualize love and community and care and compassion, you're like, that's possible for me. And if you grew up your whole life with conflict and competition and suppression, you don't know anything but that. And so you grow up feeling like you have to be perfect. You grow up feeling like I need to play small in order to be received or loved. And that was my youth. It was just really compressing this triple Leo fire energy into this perfect, please love me. I don't want to do or say or even look at someone in a way that could be deemed offensive. And it took her a long time to love herself. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time that you can honestly, like, say you looked in the mirror and say, I love myself? And what did that feel like? And can you describe that moment?
The first time?
Yeah.
That I looked in the mirror and said, I love myself. It would have had to been after I started my yoga practice. So after the age of 22. And I think it was a practice for us to do mirror affirmations. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and first all I saw was dark skin, nappy hair. Like, my face was kind of off, my teeth are kind of off, my smile is a little crooked. And I just kept looking at my eyes, because that was the prompt. And I started to cry. And I just let the tears roll, and I kept looking. And then I said, I love you. And then tears are just rolling, and I was like, I love you. And I said, I love you, and I'm almost feeling the moment, like I feel the tears coming now. I said, I love you. I can't remember how many times until I actually believed myself. But it took quite a bit of tears and quite a bit of affirming for me to get past all the reasons I felt like I was unlovable and not beautiful. And yeah, that was the first time. Yeah.
What I love about that is so many things. One of which is the simplicity. Because what I'm receiving is that your self-deprecating, negative talk, mind, you just kept, like the gaze that you had left eye to your own left eye, like seat of the soul, you stayed in it. Yeah. You didn't divert. And that's a potent breakthrough. Is that actually what is that a practice that you'd recommend as a way for somebody who might be listening, saying like, wow, I still battle with that. Yeah. I'm not sure that I actually fully embrace and love myself. Is there because it's so extraordinary simple. Is literally just we talk about like these eye gazing moments, but no, actually eye gaze with yourself first.
Yeah, it is one of the most powerful practice. I highly recommend it. Even if you've betrayed yourself, you've told yourself you were going to do something and you didn't. Like looking at yourself, because maybe you're not struggling with love, maybe you're struggling with trust. You betrayed yourself. You did things you said you want to do. Looking at yourself and saying, I trust you. I trust. It's very important because when you have trauma based on if it was self-inflicted or inflicted by another person, the first person that you have to be okay with is yourself. And the first person you have to forgive is yourself. So that affirming allows, it's almost like a self-forgiveness practice of saying, I'm sorry I hurt you. Now I love you. I trust you. And whatever you're dealing with, I would say look at yourself and like give yourself the love that you need. Affirm yourself 100%. Mirror affirmations. Ever since that day, I've always done them and I always recommend them.
Ho'oponopono.
Yes, Ho'oponopono. I love you. I mean, Ho'oponopono is something that I say. I actually wrote a song and just continue to like affirm. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you.
Can we hear the song?
Well, it's not out yet.
Oh. Spoiler alert.
I know, spoiler alert.
A little bar?
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you.
I love that.
I love you.
I actually remember coming out of a ceremony and the room was asked to share. And I've never sung before in public, ever, because I don't sing. I don't have a singing voice. But I literally sang a version of Ho'oponopono that I hadn't heard before. And it was like, and then I realized that it just is, it's the most extraordinary poem, because if we can go into acceptance, love, forgiveness, that's the seed of the soul of love.
Yeah.
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 I'll share a little bar with you.
Please do.
I just can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono, 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 Ho'oponopono. I am so sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. I thank you. I am so sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Ho'oponopono. And so it went, and it's such a extraordinary thing. And I just want to go back to just acknowledging you and just the simplicity of the self-affirmation. It's so extraordinary. One of the other things that you spoke to, which I really appreciate, is this notion around showing people what something will look like instead of telling them what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that, because I think that there's a lot of in this guru woo-woo wellness, I call it the wellness, industry, where you've got these people on these platitudes and these platforms that may fall prey.
Yeah.
And the most potent people are those that create a feeling that we're all in a circle.
Yeah.
And right now, I just happen to be at standing up in the circle and getting the concentric circle spiraling. So let's talk about that, because as somebody who's amassed a following with love, and I just have to say, in the honor of like doing some research on you after meeting you through Victory. Like, my goodness, you are so prolific in terms of the depth and the breadth and the way that you dance and all the different touch points. But let's talk about that, because you there's this also this lightness and this brightness and also this humility inside your humanity that feels very trustable. And I think that it's a very powerful thing for other leaders who might be listening to this to come back into that own coherence of like, what does it feel like inside our bodies to be sitting in the circle and concentrically circling that spiral outward?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the song. Thank you for just like affirming my expression. I mean, I feel like I do the best that I can. When people look and they see this lit version of me, unfortunately, because of trauma and wounding, I see most of the darkness. And unfortunately, you can get 100 comments, but it's that one negative troll comment that you focus on. And I wish I wasn't like that. But unfortunately, that's how I am. Like, I'll do all these great things and share, and then I'll be like, oh, I messed up this one time. I made this mistake. And so my growth has been to share my mistakes, and share that I have high functioning depression. Like, I can do all these things, but sometimes I feel so sad about the state of the world, and I feel so sad about, I can look around and see all of the oppression and all of the harm, and I see all of the good too, and sometimes I celebrate with the good, and then sometimes I'm depressed because of all the harm, because I feel it all equally. I'm like, yes, look at us growing and winning and creating, and more people waking up to the knowledge, and look at us still in this time where we have to feel like we have to kill other people and harm other people and oppress other people to maintain control. And I feel very dualistic most times in life. Like, I feel like I can be on an extreme high or an extreme low any given day, any given moment. And that's a lot of duality to hold. And there's a time in my life when I wanted to not feel, the darkness and not feel the pain and the suffering. But then I realized not feeling is not really living. And sometimes you can separate yourself temporarily from it all, but then you're also separating yourself from life. And so now I've learned, and I used to not have a healthy relationship with death. I wouldn't want flowers because I'm like, no, they die. I just wanted the things that are living and then beautiful. But when I learned to accept duality, when I learned to accept death as a beautiful part of life, I learned to love myself even more, because I accept the darkness in myself just as much as I accept the light, and they're all here for me to learn and to love through. I feel like love is everything and everything is love. Even the darkness is just teaching us love in a different way.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, there's so much noise in the world right now, and we'll I'd like to, first of all, hear like, what are you working through right now for yourself, within yourself, within your community, within your family, and within the world, and what's coming through for you?
That's a powerful one, because this is something that I recently have grown through. I lived in LA for about 17 years, and 2.5 years ago, I moved to Atlanta, and I'm from Tennessee, so I kind of moved back home, quote unquote. And so learning that I embody the highest vibration of love at all times. And there are lower vibrations that I will slide into, like fear and sadness and frustration and rage even sometimes. But I get to choose if I want to stay there or if I want to elevate to a higher vibration of love. And when I look at myself as love, and I don't identify myself, even though I experience different lower vibrations, even when I'm experiencing happiness and exhilaration, it's like I am love regardless. And when I embrace this, it's like I can love myself through my darkness, and I can shift to the light because I'm not identifying with it. And that's something that I've been embracing for myself. And because I embrace it for myself, when I see other people functioning in ways outside of love, I also have love for them. But I had to see it for myself first. And I can love someone that's shouting at me or yelling at me or being like really, mean. And I can be like, man, I love them. And that's so sad that this is happening. And, I think it's a very powerful way to spread love consciousness because I don't feel like it's a productive way to spread love consciousness only looking at the light because we learn from the dark. And if we're not learning, then I don't think it's full circle. And so I think going back home and being with family I think is when you really dive in, especially if you've come from a very challenging childhood, can be the hardest place to practice love because they know you. They knew you before you woke up, they knew you before. And a lot of times people identify with you as being a certain way, whatever it is, and they don't accept your growth maybe. And so going home and being able to move in a love energy and acceptance, that has been my greatest test. To love my parents and all of their choices, and to love my brothers and sisters and my nieces and nephew, and vibrate a frequency of love and non-judgment. I think non-judgment is also a powerful form of love, just really accepting people for who they are and what they bring without trying to make them be something else, or not trying to make them be you, or not trying to make them even be a better version of themselves, just fully accepting them as they are. So those are some of the practices and ways I feel like I've been showing up as love, and it's helped me, and I think it's definitely helped my family, not to tell them, but just to mirror what love is.
Wow. Yeah, Garen Jones was recently on the podcast, and he talked about true acceptance. And is the gateway to transformation, and not a day before.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing you say is your expression of that, which is even the acceptance of and he was speaking to like the ancestral acceptance of from where you come from, and to accept it, embrace it, whatever that reality is. What I'm receiving from you, which is really quite extraordinary as well, is the reframe, of the pain, and not blocking any of those blessings, because we can choose, we can transmute.
Yeah.
And has that helped you within? I mean, is that the main practice that's helped to take something that became from calcified to a catalyst, right? And now you can use it all and say like, oh, yeah, my preference, and would be that the world would not be in a state of pain, and yet I'm going to let go of that preference and basically say like, I'm going to have compassion for it, but I'm going to allow it to basically say like, well, that's just going to bring me deeper into a state of love because I can actually see from that dark emanates the light. Is that what I'm receiving?
I feel like I definitely want to transmute the pain into powerful expressions of love.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I look at it and I don't feel like I'm doing enough in my power, I feel sad. But when I'm doing my part, whatever that part is, I feel empowered. So I can't say that I fully transcended the sadness of seeing oppression and people going through, but I have learned, I do have the tools now to transmute it in a moment's time. And not only just with affirming or thinking about it different, but also I do rituals like breath work, and I like to call it the soul breath, and just like breathing into my body, releasing those old ways and those traumas that come up when I see people being harmed. And when I think about ways I was harmed in the past, I go into this soul breath where I'm breathing and I'm realigning with my soul as love. And I feel like breathing helps remove energies. Like I really believe in energy work. And we have energy stuck in our body when we've experienced trauma or pain. Sometimes looking at videos, sometimes hearing someone else's story, we can hold on to pain or resentment or frustration or even resentment. And those things those are low vibrational, and they can have a low hit on our body. So when it comes to energetic alchemy, which is what I teach, it's about seeing things as they truly are and how they impact you. And how, like, something can happen in this room and the way it impacts me and you completely different. So it's personal, and you take the way it impacts you and you deal with it from that space. So if it impacts me negatively, it's like, how can I take this and see it as a lesson?
What I love about so many, and you are actually at the tip of the love spear on this, is that you take things out of the conceptual and you bring it into the pragmatic and the practical.
Yeah.
And it's a ritual and it's a practice. And so that's one of the things that I also love to do on Drops of Gold, which is bring us in, coach. Call us in, coach. Give us a little taste of what that could feel like and look like in terms of what's the breath work. Where would you like to take us?
Okay. Will you want to play?
I want to play.
All right.
hope.
Let me know something that's really frustrated you or made you feel something out of love recently.
That's frustrated me. A feeling of things not moving at the pace of the desired choice point of how I want something to look and feel, and when I want it to look and feel that way.
All right. And when things aren't moving at your pace, like, give me some other ways it makes you feel, like about 5 or 6 feelings that you have around things moving at a slow pace.
I tell myself I'm unsupported.
Okay.
Which is a complete lie. I tell myself I'm incapable for a nanosecond,
Yeah.
which I know is a lie.
Yeah.
And I just feel frustrated, and I feel, and it feels less than as opposed to yes and. It doesn't feel like it's the fullness of the expression. I feel like I'm almost apologizing for something that doesn't require an apology.
Yeah. And if you could give that feeling, those group of feelings, a color, what would it be?
Red.
Red. Yeah. Tell me about that red color.
It's rage.
Yeah. Rage.
Yeah.
And can you think of times in your life where you felt like rage? Like maybe in your childhood where you felt rage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about it.
An inner rage of being unexpressed, of being on the outside looking in. My parents were, my goodness, they got engaged after 3 weeks and married 5 weeks later, and they had 2 kids in a new house within 18 months, and I was the second one to come, and my parents sometimes were fighting, and my sister was the rabble rooster, and so I was the good boy, and I was the one on the outside looking in, and I had no sense of who I was or what I really stood for. I was a people pleaser, and I kept the peace.
And keeping the peace, did you feel like you could express yourself?
No, I was completely unexpressed. As a matter of fact, I was so unexpressed. If you asked me a question about myself, I would have flipped it back to you, and I got really adept in understanding what you wanted, and then I would oftentimes just choose that because it was the path of least resistance.
That's deep. And how do you feel like that served you at that time?
It disserved me. And as I grew into an adult, it created a dis-ease inside me that actually calcified in my body. Like, I got habitually sick 2 or 3 times a year, and I had walking pneumonia 3 times in my late 30s and early 40s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when did you finally let go?
I finally let go at Esalen at a workshop called Claiming Your Voice. Shout out to Meredith Haberfield.
How old were you then?
42.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that I fully let go. I'm saying that I mean, I think that it's a lifelong love process. And I would say that what it did is it was the genie was out of the bottle, and there was no stuff in the genie back in. And that's when I went on my journey, and that's when the wisdom flowed like a river.
Ooh, I love that. Wisdom flowed like a river. That's beautiful. So after that voice and after you started this journey of fuller expression, how did that make you feel?
Alive.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
I still remember the first time I went to this dusty place in the desert of Nevada. And I was told, it was like a last minute thing to go to Burning Man for the first time in 2010. And I was told two things by people who were like coaching me to get in there. One was, no shirt cocking. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's awful.
It sounds hilarious.
It's awful. It would be like that guy that's wearing a shirt with no pants.
Oh,
so that was one piece of advice I got. And the second piece of advice I got was to come in with an intention. And at that point, I had no idea what an intention was. This was 2 years before Claiming Your Voice. I was still super young on my journey, and I went out to got on my bike because I was so afraid that somebody, when I got to the camp that I was at, was going to say, "What's your intention?" No, nobody, of course, would ever do that, but I thought somebody was going to challenge me, and I had no idea. And so I just wanted to be alone. I got on my bike and I rode into what I came to be learn, which was Deep Playa, and I saw this beautiful building in the mist, and I went up to it, and it was like a temple, and it was the temple.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I just saw there was graffiti scrawled all over the walls, and everything. It was all just kind of like, words you couldn't even understand. But no joke, there was a light source, and we'll actually put on YouTube the actual photograph that I took of the light source cascading on the wall, and it was like a golden background with black handwritten scrawling, 5 words. And I stood there and I looked at those words for 20 minutes. And the first 2 words I disagreed with, and the last 3 words I had no idea what it meant. It was love yourself, embrace thy shadow.
That's deep.
And that became my intention for that, and frankly, it's been my intention for my entire journey.
Wow. Love yourself, embrace your shadow.
Embrace that shadow, yeah.
And what does that mean for you?
Well, I mean, first of all, the whole love yourself thing was like, no, you love others, and then you can, then you're worthy of love.
Yeah.
That's what I told myself my entire life. And the truth is, it's like, it's like, well, we'll get to little Johnny and the ooey gooey chocolate chip cookie story maybe at another time, but it's like if all you're doing is you're loving others and you never give yourself that cookie, you're never going to get that cookie.
Yeah.
So realize, like, you even, I so beautifully said, I read that you said, like, fill your cup up and then you just, others will just naturally drink, from there. But to answer your question, I thought that love yourself was selfish, narcissistic, and egoic. When in reality, it's like the most selfless thing, because you're actually loving yourself to as the ripple effect to love others. And self-love invites and ignites a shared love was the first thing that I wrote along my journey. It's like, oh, that's it, lock that in. And then embrace your shadow was like, I used to run from the dark my entire life.
Yeah.
Darkness was fear. Darkness was sadness. Darkness was pain. And this notion around like embracing it is like that portal of, the portal of possibility into full transformation.
Yeah.
So love yourself, embrace that shadow. It's a mantra. It's a message, and it's a beautiful invitation, and that certainly has served me on my journey. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely.
How am I doing on our little our little game we're playing.
I think you're doing great because you came all the way back to affirming yourself.
Yes.
You talked about your shadow.
Yes.
You talked about how you love yourself.
Yes.
And so that's full circle. And so in my work, I allow people to go into the shadow. And that was into your childhood, into your darkness, into those things, because it's okay. It's not who you are. What's happened to you is not who you are. But sometimes we identify in our shadow, right? And so when you don't identify, then you're able to go in, acknowledge it, and also release. And so that's what you did by going in, acknowledging, and then it brought you all the way back to like, this is where I am now, and this is when I got there. And then you literally affirmed yourself at the end. And so I think that's what I do as a coach, is just allow people that dualistic journey through all of their emotions. And it's called neuroemotional coaching, and to be able to like co-regulate with you while you talk about. And some people go deeper. I mean, we could go deeper. I want to do it on the podcast, but it allows you to just go there. And I'm sitting here looking at you like, I love you no matter what. And a lot of people need to be able to express themselves authentically and still feel loved. And a lot of people don't. They feel like if they don't say a certain thing or do a certain thing, like you mentioned before, that they're not going to be loved and accepted. And so just holding that space for people and resonating with people is one of the best things people can have. I believe in the power of storytelling. And in you just telling your story, healing is happening. And yeah, that's a little bit of how I hold space.
That right there might be our first golden mic drop.
Really?
For me, because I believe in the power of storytelling, and within that storytelling, healing is naturally happening.
Ashe.
So at this point in the episode, those that are active listeners know what's coming next. So as a co-spirator, what is the auditory sound of the golden mic drop?
Ding. Ding.
Look, I don't play favorites, but that's this is so lovely. How long can we hold that?
Ding. Yeah, that feels good. And I just see the little thing slowly going down.
That was fantastic. So let's stay on this track for a moment because it's so potent. Look, one of the we've all done the workshops and love shops and sat on mountaintops, and one thing that along my journey that was just part of the journey was taking Landmark, and one of the things I talked about was this notion around storytelling, and that within that we get to be awake and aware that within stories sometimes we can create meaning. Within that meaning we can have attachment, and sometimes that can be a calcification that we replay the story. So I love the fact that there's this notion. It's almost like you're giving a distillation between story and storytelling, because storytelling, the way I'm receiving it from you, is like story letting. It's just like letting. It's like, and within that, you're letting it go. You're expressing it. We don't need to tell our story every day.
Yeah.
It's like tell it enough times that you feel like you've been expressed as what I'm feeling, what I'm receiving from you, which is really fucking cool. Excuse my French. We do sometimes use French on Dropsicle.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful because it flows with the art of allowing, the art of expression. Whenever you're in flow state, allowing yourself to flow authentically, even when it's raw, even when it's a little bit nasty.
Yeah.
That is authentic expression, right? You're flowing and you're surrendering to, I don't have to be perfect, which is totally outside of the box from what we were all taught, that we have to be this perfect version of ourselves. And it's simply not true because we're not leaving room for frustration. And if we're not leaving room for frustration and anger, then we're not leaving room for growth. So in that shadow self and diving in, that's when you're really living and that's when you're really growing. Why are we still fighting? Why are we still oppressing people? Because we're not diving into why we're doing it. We're just saying stop. Well, That's unfortunately not the solution. The solution is asking ourselves why. Why? Going deeper into what was the first moment that we felt like this was necessary. Can we go back to that moment and acknowledge that we were not well when we did that? Because saying we were well then is making us be okay with what we're doing now. So if you go back in your childhood and say, I was right to be this mean, nasty, like tormenting person, then you're never going to grow from it. But if you go back and say, you know what, that was hurtful. It was actually not my highest self, then we can grow. But what we a lot of times do in society, we make ourselves right when we are dead wrong, you know? But sometimes we can contextualize it and make ourselves right. And when we do that, it's the most dangerous thing in the world. It is the most dangerous thing in the world, not weapons, but mind. The power of the mind. Did I get another?
Okay, friends, you know how they say kids say the funniest things? Well, I got to tell you, adults sometimes say the funniest things as well when they wear one golden thread. Some of my favorite quotes is somebody saying that they feel like they're making love to themselves without touching themselves. Real. Somebody else said they feel like they're wearing their wizard armor. Others have said they feel like they hit the gym without needing to hit the gym. Listen, whatever you say, whatever you feel, this is your journey. I'm just here to be an act of service and an offering to the world for you to go hug yourself. No, seriously, go hug yourself. One golden thread at a time. Special code at checkout, 22% off. Use code Drops of Gold. You are golden. We are all connected. Better together. Go hug yourself. You asked about the before we started. What's the quote that's tucked into the love wrap?
Yeah.
It's I love tucking poetry under our clothing, and that is the last full sentence that my mother, as she went deeper into her Alzheimer journey, the last full sentence that she ever said to me.
Wow.
And what it says is, treat now as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Oh, I love that. Sir Charles loves it too. Treat now as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know what? That is so profound to me because there's no time like the present. And a lot of times we can be caught up in the past, or we could be thinking about the future.
Yeah.
But the present is where all the love is.
Yes.
There can be fear in the past. There can be trauma in the past. There could be expectation in the future. I'm getting a reti here on my head. But when we just really seep into the present, that's when we really get to experience love. And right now I'm experiencing love with Sir Charles just rolling all over my chest.
Sir Charles Oscar Wilde.
Sir Charles Oscar Wilde, are you having a fun time?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, he's good.
Oh yeah, he's good. He's having a blast.
He's good.
So yeah, I love that quote, and I feel it brings me back to the present moment and how all the love you need is in the present moment. And the more you can breathe into the present, you can save yourself a lot of pain. Save yourself a lot of pain because there's peace in the present. A lot of peace in the present.
What does the frequency of clothing mean to you?
I feel like the frequency of clothing is the frequency you give it. You know? You can have a piece of cotton, and that cottonist string might not mean a thing. But once you create something with it, it can be everything. It could be a sacred cloth. It could be something you wrap your newborn in. It could be something you wrap your loved one in after they've lived a full life. So I feel like when you give clothing, clothing has the meaning that you give it. And when you put intention, bringing up intentionality again, around the clothing that you wear, it raises its vibrational frequency. So that's why I will always go back to energetic alchemy and how are the words we're using, how are the clothes we're wearing changing, either enhancing or lowering our frequency. For instance, you gave me this beautiful cloth, and this cloth means more than if I would have picked it up from a store because you gave it to me. You have your mother's quote on the tag. You beautifully adjusted it on my body. So all those little moments raise the frequency of this piece of string. So even if someone else gave it to me, it would have a different frequency. So I think noticing in life that when we put on clothes, where we bought it, who's touched it, what material it's made out of, all of these things impact our body and our mind. And so it's really great to wear intentional clothing. And when your clothing has a purpose, like the proceeds go to something beneficial, those intentionalities raise the frequency of your garments and raise your personal frequency. And so I appreciate you for not only in creating high vibrational clothing, but also the intention you put. I went to your store the other day and I would watch you, cloak the men that came to your store and uncloak them and turn the product around. And I think that intentionality versus just sitting there and letting people go in and out of the store raises the vibration of the clothing. So when they wear it, it's going to have a different meaning for them. So yeah, intentional clothing is powerful.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we think about what does it mean to be a vertical human? What are the thoughts we're thinking? What are the words we're speaking? What is the food we're eating? And what is the clothes we're wearing? And, that frequency of clothing for me, at least, was a forgotten frontier for most of my life. And the planet's waking up.
Yeah.
That we can live compromise-free and we can do it deliciously, and then we can give back in regenerosity. And that's, I think, where business is going. I'd like to maybe complete this this episode by talking about entrepreneurship. Because it's really one of the things that I'm so impressed by in learning about you is your prolificness. And, we were talking a little bit earlier about the wellness industry. I jokingly call it, well, not really jokingly, it's a sad fact that in some ways a $2.3 trillion business could be called the wellness industry because so much of it can feel almost predatory, where it's like you need to do this because to get here or what have you, need to read the book, take this workshop, as opposed to it feeling more like an invitation. And everything you put out is such a beautiful invitation. And I'll just share with you, as a conscious entrepreneur, it took me quite a while on my journey to actually say, well, can we actually create something that creates abundance for the world, but also for me? Is that okay? To do that. And I just would love to hear you speak about that, because as a conscious entrepreneur who frankly has created such a beautiful, benevolent empire.
Thank you.
Around love.
Thank you.
And you've created a movement. And there's products, and there's books, and there's services, and there's workshops, and there's all of these different things. And you do it in such a lovely, curated, cultivated way. I'd love to hear you talk about that as an entrepreneur. Did you have to give yourself permission to go there? Or was that an easeful way to do that? And how would another who might want to go there start?
Oh, that's so layered. And I'm gonna try to fold into all the layers. Number one, I feel like I'm part of the problem when it comes to consumerism, if I'm honest. So let's go through my dark first. We are over consuming in this world, and it's not okay. I have way more clothes than I need. I have made more things in my home than I need, from skincare to clothing to crystals, way more than I need. And I think it's important to acknowledge the dark, because there is light in the dark. But if we can't acknowledge the dark, we don't see how we can make it better, right? And so we have too many things. My goal in being a conscious entrepreneur, a conscious consumer, is to identify what are the best things, which is why I have so many things, because I got to test them for you guys. So I get all the things, all the clothes, all the skincare, and I try to get things that are vegan and that are non-toxic and that are healthier for people and healthier for the planet. and share those things with my community. So when they are spending their dollars, they're spending them, whether they're in the low DIY end or the high luxury end, they're spending their hard-earned dollars on things that are good for them and good for their planet. We still have too many things though. So I think that consciousness around it is part of the solution. But also, to be honest, what can we live with less? And can we be happy with less, and how does it make us feel? And for someone who was raised in a trailer in the country and didn't have much, I mean, I grew up off the helping hand, powdered milk. So when I start to gain things, it felt good. It felt good to have enough. It felt good to have clothes that weren't worn by someone else and shoes that weren't hand-me-downs. But then I started getting a lot of stuff and more stuff, and I never lost that feeling of feeling good to have things. And then I realized, like, how good it felt to give things away. How good it felt to, get a good bag of clothing and share them with my neighbors and share them with my community. I wasn't wearing them, right? And so I think the conscious consumption is important, and getting things that are good for you and the planet. I think community sharing is important, and being able to give products you're no longer using away, so that someone's trash is another person's treasure, right? So just giving those away to someone who can benefit from them is really important. And I feel like how I've grown over the years is really sharing my authentic growth about, yes, there was a time where I had over 40 brand deals during the pandemic, and to be quite honest, all of them weren't aligned. Some of them were misaligned, and I was just like, I'm trying to feed myself and make sure I had 21 people on my team at that time. I wanted everyone to keep their job. So I was stressing myself out, taking a lot of deals that really didn't align, and I suffered burnout because of that, because I was going so hard, and I was, really focused on just making income, and I was still making impact, but the misalignment was, again, those things that I knew were not aligned, but I just said yes anyway because I was scared. I was scared that I wasn't going to have enough, or not have enough for myself, have enough for my team, have enough for my family. And when you're in the vibration of fear, it's a lower vibration of love. You can't function at the higher vibration. So I had to heal from thinking that we're not going to make it, and being uncertain about where the world was going, in order to say, let me clean up some of these mistakes. Let me clean up some of these misalignments. Let me let some things go. And in letting go and doing some healing work, I was also at the time turning 40 and realizing you've built a huge community, but you're unhappy. And people talk about my community a lot, but it's like, it's great when you're able to check a box, but checking a box doesn't always bring you happiness, right? Checking a box is checking a box, and you're going to look for the next box to check, And so happiness is about, in any given moment, looking and searching your soul and saying, how do I feel and what do I need? So this is in my phone every day at noon. How do you feel and what do you need? Because when you're a people pleaser, often you're thinking about what other people need and how other people feel. But I noticed during that time, I wasn't asking myself, how do I feel? And what do I need? So I ask myself every day, how do you feel and what you need? And then I share that with my community. So we're all asking ourselves, how do you feel and what do you need? And I, at that time, felt lonely. And I wanted romantic partnership. So it took me deep into a healing space on fatherhood wounds and abuse in my past that I experienced, in order to set myself up for the romantic partnership I desired. And then a year and a half later, after moving to Atlanta, I found that. Got engaged last June, getting married this November. But I had to go into the darkness first. And I think that's the theme of this, is how can going into the darkness bring you into the light? And so in sharing that journey with my community, I built this yoga teacher training, certified thousands of yogis, and got more people that look like me in front of the classrooms. And I had a online retreat called the Get Loved Up retreat. And we had over 8,000 opt-ins, and all of my favorite light workers there. And yes, that felt good. But then that night I sat in the bathtub and I cried into my bubble bath. because I was sad and I was lonely, right? And so, and I say that to say, like, for those people saying, oh, I want to do this and I want to make this much money, I want to build this big community, make sure you're really clear on your why and make sure that that's really what you want. Or is it that something you feel like you need to have to be loved? You know? And so when I checked in, it was like, no, I need to focus on people are going to get love from me because I'm just a love person. When I feel like when anyone is living their true, authentic self, everyone will benefit. So when you love yourself first, you dive into your shadow, like your quote, then the result of that is people will be loved. And you mentioned a quote, one of my favorite quotes from my mentor, Lisa Nichols, pour into your cup and fill your cup until it overflows and let others sip from your saucer, right? And when I heard that, I'm like, yes, I have to remember to fill my cup. And so now that I'm filling my cup, my community is just getting the overflow, but I just have to keep pouring into myself. And so get loved up and creating Get Loved Up in that mindfulness and studying meditation and yoga and plant-based nutrition and all these holistic well-beings, that was just filling my own cup. You know, and the result was I filled a lot of other people's cups too. And then I created jobs for other people and I created community and a business. Then I burnt it all down to the ground and I had to start over. And now I'm taking everything I learned and I'm on my second book and I'm building another community all around like lifestyle design and how you create these well-being in your life so that you stay more balanced. Because I had that checklist, but it wasn't balanced. And I had intentions, but over time they get misconstrued because I, as a people pleaser, recovering, you start doing everyone's yes. And when you start doing everyone's yes, you're telling yourself no. So I had to recalibrate. And so now I teach really doing a lifestyle assessment once a month and asking yourself in every different areas of life. I have 6 areas of life that we go into. Rate yourself. And that's how people can really see. Because you start off with good intentions, but just flowing through life, it's natural that you get off course a little bit. So when I bring people back to that assessment, they're like, okay, I see where I am. And so that's what I'm teaching now is just going deeper into your shadow, saying that you're not perfect, and those places, choosing one thing a month where you want to work on so that you can be more fully expressed, you can be more yourself. And it's a little fun. It's fun.
What are the 6 assessments?
So the 6 areas of well-being are spiritual well-being, and we talk about like meditation and yoga and connecting with your authentic self. Emotional well-being, and we talk about feelings like we did with you, like, understanding the brain states and how to get from survival state to executive state. We have physical well-being, which is about what are you doing to move your body? Are you dancing, yoga, walks, like whatever you do? Nutritional well-being, are you eating high vibrational food? And how often, no matter what food thing you're following, is it high vibrational processed or, is it high vibrational and natural foods and whole foods, or is it low vibrational processed foods? Social well-being, are you spending time with loved ones? Are you spending time in community? Because that's very healing. And then financial well-being. A lot of people don't want to talk about money, but, yeah, I was talking to one of my mentors, Rachel Rogers. She was like, being broke is expensive, and, the vibrational frequency of having what you need to live the lifestyle that you want to live is very important. And so we go through those 6 areas of well-being and we rate ourselves and we're really raw and honest and we just work on one.
It's interesting because I actually just went through, shout out to Sanika, the Firestarter Street, went into a men's retreat called All In, and we went through, I think it was 5 states of being or 5 assessments. And what was interesting within that is not just to rank yourself within it, but also to see what's the fulcrum point that should be the lead. And is there, for instance, what came out was if your physical well-being is not, health is wealth, right? So
right.
If you're not there, then none of the others really can matter because you're not fully present there. How do you assess that in terms of the is there a hierarchy of because I can imagine, somebody might be listening saying, wow, that sounds exciting and also overwhelming, to do a full assessment. Where do I start? You start where you are, but where do we start in terms of that assessment?
Well, why don't we take you through it really quick?
Oh my goodness!
Of all the 6 areas of well-being, we'll be fast.
We're gonna end this podcast at 11:11, so we got 11 minutes.
I love it. of all the areas that I mentioned, and I can say them again: spiritual, emotional, physical, nutritional, social, and financial. What one would you rate yourself the lowest in?
Run through them again. Spiritual,
Emotional, nutritional, physical, social, financial.
Ironically enough, and I know this is for those that I don't even know. I'm just, I would say right now social. Like I've been so focused for the last 8 years on mission. I have some of the people I hold most dear in this world. They're I don't see or talk to them as often as so. I think getting harmonious in that area is something to lift.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we would go into there, and I have this method called the Heal, Build, Thrive method.
The heal, build,
Thrive.
okay.
Right. And so you can do it in any area of well-being. So we'll go with social on you. And I would go back to, when was a time in your life where you felt like your social well-being was at a 10?
When I was in New York.
All right. Tell me about New York, and tell me about this 10 social life for you.
I was gifted with this beautiful container of a community that it was all artists, and I wasn't an artist at that point. So it was a community around connection and expression, and everybody was celebrated for stepping into the light.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. And how long were you a part of that community?
The entire time I was in New York for 4 years.
4 years. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. And I would invite you to close your eyes, and when you visualize that time, think about how it made you feel. Think about the feelings that it gave you, and see if you can embody those feelings right now in this moment. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And now in this moment, I invite you to see what element, if there is one thing that you want to bring into the now, what would it be? And when you're ready, open your eyes and let me know what it is.
Just the love that emanates around me in circle. And even within that, going through that exercise, I realized that it's all around me all the time. And I think back like 361 days ago on my birthday, Yasmina and Kat and Victory, and we were all there, and just seeing the love that emanates, and it's around me. I think it's just it's realizing the beauty of realizing that that's health and health and friends and family. That's the triple.
That's real cute. It's a little spiritual bypassy.
What did I do?
So you didn't do anything wrong. But I'm going to invite you to, if you want to up that element, if you give it from a scale of 1 to 10 of where it is now versus where it was when you're in New York, because that was honest, what could you do in your now to bring that element, that level of a 10? It doesn't have to happen tomorrow. And no one else is doing anything, only you. What do you want to bring into your now that you feel would enhance your social well-being?
I mean, what just keeps coming through is invite and receive.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
And receive and invite.
Invite and receive.
Yeah.
And I can definitely say when I came to your beautiful place, One Golden Thread, and you were telling me the vision about the tea and the ceremony and the music, I definitely feel like that's in that vibration
It's coming.
of the invitation. So I feel like it is happening. It is
Yeah.
now and it is happening. And I feel like the more that you keep asking yourself, like, what does it look like? What does it look like? And allowing it to come up, like what you create, everything you've had in the past is all a part of you, right? You don't identify with, but you've experienced it. So now it's just about asking yourself, like, what does this really look like in the now with these invitations? Who are you inviting?
Well, one of the most prideful things, and it's important for me and maybe for others that are listening and from even you, is this notion around when we create containers, love and energy can thrive. That's why even, this home and looking out into the yard, we've had so many beautiful, magical moments by this fireplace, and the container of what we've created on that bikini is a space and a place to come together and converge and to share and that it's an honor and a blessing, and it's very prideful for me. I don't know why, if it feels that way for everybody else in this world, but it feels so good to be a container creator, and to invite it. And so I feel, those stories that I've told myself were stuck stories. They're not real.
Yeah.
Because I truly, I do feel blessed. I do feel so grateful going into my birthday next week. I do feel so empowered and powerful, and so I feel it's a 10 out of 10. It just I just get to allow it, and I get to receive it.
I love that. And I'll bring you back to your quote, love yourself, which you're definitely expressing now. And then the second part was
Embrace that shadow.
embrace the shadow. So embrace the shadow part can be your greatest opportunity for growth and expansion.
Received.
Ashe.
Ding! Wait, do I have it right?
Yeah. So,
Right.
ding. Oh, someone's comfortable.
Oh, guess what? We have 3 more minutes, so we're gonna have a little fun.
Okay.
One of my favorite games I haven't played in a while. 2 truths and a lie.
Oh, yeah. I love Two Truths and a Lie. All right. I was a stripper when I was younger. I am number 2 in my family lineup of children, and I've been to the Maldives.
I don't think you've been to the Maldives.
I've definitely been to the Maldives.
Okay.
So you think I'm a stripper? I was not a stripper. Hey.
Oh, well. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I've been to the Maldives actually 2 times.
Okay.
Twice. Joali being incredible.
Okay.
It was really awesome.
Okay. Put your hand over your heart with the golden thread. So what does it mean to you to live life golden?
Living life golden to me is embracing your shadow and living your truth.
And what's a self-love tip you've discovered to tap back to that when we forget?
Self-love is remembering that even in your darkness, you are the light.
The golden thread that connects us all is
Love. Compassion.
start your engines. Koya Webb, thank you for being on Drops of Gold. Would you like to exit us with a beautiful song around love?
Love, love is the power that holds us. Love is the power that loves us. Love is the power of us. Love. Love is the power that holds us. Love is the power that is us. Love, 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 love.
Would you like to give a one-word shout out of the love that you see for this man right here?
The love that I see for Darren Granger is my pure reflection of unconditional love for self, unconditional love for others, and unconditional love for this planet. I never thought I would see that level of love and connection in another human being, but he is it. Every day and every breath, I'm so grateful for the love that we share. Thank you for being my soulmate. I love you.
Victory, thank you for your radiance and the love that you shine on the world, the little ones inside your heart, always shining out. Love you.
Thank you for having me on this podcast. Thank you for the love that you shine from within that reflects everywhere around you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being fully expressed. Thank you for dancing with your shadow with me and being the light and the golden thread that guides us all.
Koya Webb, thank you for being drops of gold. You are light. You are love. Keep shining.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Drops of Gold. We trust you found listening as delightful as we found creating. Now let me tell you, it takes a village to nourish a dream. Big shout outs to One Golden Thread for powering the pod, to co-producers Mark Shapiro, Josh Robertson, and Victory for bringing it all to life, Kat Benzova for her stunning guest portraits, and special thanks to artist Taib for featuring his electrifying new track, Departures. And infinite love to you for your curiosity and commitment to living in your highest vibrational truth. Aho! Here we grow. We are all designed to be reminded we are already golden inside. I'm Jeff Sculp, wishing you a radically yes fuck yes day. Ashe.